What's up guys? Today I have a little bit of a different video for you. I'm a little bit nervous because I've never really done a story time video or like a ranting video or anything like that. But I have a story that I kind of want to share with you, and so I'm going to today. If you guys are not like into like ranting videos, then maybe you don't want to watch this one. I have a feeling that I'm probably gonna get a little heated because this is kind of a story that makes me really annoyed. So just to give you a little bit of a warning, today I'm going to talk about my experience with this certain American Airlines gate attendant. This happened to me probably about 2 or 3 months ago. I don't really enjoy traveling. I specifically do not like American Airlines. Something always happens with American Airlines, whether it's like small or something large like this, and it's just they don't really have really great customer service in my opinion. I always try to do JetBlue if I can, but this experience took the freaking cake. I don't remember what events they were for specifically, but I had 2 events back to back, and it was kind of the time where I was doing a crap load of traveling. I had to go from LA to New York. So I started in Boston, obviously traveled to LA for 1 day, and then from LA that same day had to travel to New York for another event. And so there was just a lot going on in a very short amount of time, literally like 2 days. I went to LA, did my thing, then I was catching the red eye to New York for the next event, the very next day. So everything was fine. I checked into American Airlines. Turns out that the red eye was not just one red eye, but I was actually having to catch 3 planes to get from LA to New York. Okay, so that really meant that sleep was gonna be a hot mess. So the first flight left at 10 p.m. I think, and it was in the middle of a really bad storm, so there was literally turbulence throughout the entire flight. It was at about an hour and a half. It was the scariest flight I've ever been on. I was so scared. I was just like praying and talking to myself, and I was just imagining and envisioning Olivia in my mind. I was so scared. I've never been so scared in my life, honestly, just trying to think positive thoughts. So obviously that hour and a half I did not sleep, and so after that flight landed, and I was so thankful, it was time to get on to the next flight. So I can't remember where we landed, but the next flight was going to take me, I believe, to North Carolina. That flight was the longest of the 3, and if you guys know American Airlines planes at all, they're very tightly packed, not a lot of space. At this point I was so exhausted from all the turbulence from the first flight, and it was like already late at night. I wanted to go to bed. I had an event the next morning. I was so tired, and I was stuck in this little tiny square of a seat between 2 people, desperately like trying to find a comfortable way to sleep. I think I slept like half an hour that entire flight. At one point I even took the table in front of me down and tried to sleep on that. I was desperate. I know we landed sometime around 5 or 6 a.m. So pretty much that entire night I had maybe an hour of sleep total on and off. By the time we finally landed in North Carolina, I had 1 more flight to take to get to New York, and at this point I was like done. I'm going to be delirious if I don't get sleep, because I was going to this event. I was supposed to be meeting people, and I couldn't even think straight. So in my head I was like, okay, if I can just get like a window seat on this next flight, I'll be good. There's absolutely no way I can sit in the middle again. I need to get at least an hour and a half of sleep. So I finally get off the plane. I make a beeline, and the gate is right there. I'm like one of the first people off the plane, right behind first class, and the gate attendant is there as well, and his name was Bruce. I said, hi, how are you? I'm getting on to this next flight, and I just want to see if there's any window seats available, if I can switch my seat. I was exhausted and very slow in how I was speaking, but I was still trying to be nice. So he looks at his computer and he says, all seats are taken, all the seats are booked. I said, well, how about first class? This is how desperate I was. This is a very short flight, and I was about to pay first class just so I could get some sleep. He said, the flight is booked, that includes first class, but you can have a seat and check back later. And I said, okay. So since I was like one of the first people off the flight, I just sat in like the very like closest seat to the gate, so I could just watch everybody coming off and see if anybody comes up to the gate and switches. So I make sure everybody's off the plane. I see the flight attendants leave the plane. I see the pilot leave the plane. And so I'm like, okay, everyone's gone now. So I walk back up to the guy at the gate. So I said, hi, I just wanted to check to see if any seats became available. So he looked at his computer and he said, here's an aisle seat. And he gave me a ticket with the aisle seat. I was in the middle before, so an aisle seat was an improvement. And he's like, and that's rare. So I was like, okay, thank you so much. And I said, just to let you know, I'm sorry, I'm just really tired. I just want a window to lay against. I said, I'm gonna check back in like 45 minutes just to see if anything else opens up. And the layover was for about an hour. He was like, okay. So I went to my seat. I tried to like get a little rest. Y'all should have seen me. I was a hot mess. I was laying on my backpack. I had my foot in the air. People were looking at me like I was crazy. That was like sleep deprivation on another level. So anyway, I went to go get something to eat. And then I came back. This was probably around 6 a.m., maybe 6:30ish in the morning. So now the airport's, becoming full with everybody. All the people are coming in who are all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Anyway, I'm just sitting there and I hear Bruce call over the intercom. He said, if any passengers on flight yada yada who are standby or who are awaiting their seat assignments, please come to the gate. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's seats open because they're taking people on standby. This is great. So I quickly gather all my stuff and I run up to the gate and I'm the first person in line, okay? So Bruce had his back turned. He was talking to somebody else and there was a woman at the gate too. So I looked at the woman and I was like, hi, I just wanted to see if there were any window seats available. So Bruce must have heard my voice, but he turns around and he's like, I already gave you your seat assignment. And I'm like, yeah, but I just wanted to come back and check to see if there was any window seats available. And he's like, I gave you the best seat in the house. You got an aisle seat. I gave you the best seat in the house. And he was like getting annoyed with me or something. Okay, mind you guys, this woman was standing here about to help me look for a seat. Bruce is standing behind her, giving me attitude, and I have this long line of passengers standing behind me who are either waiting for a seat assignment or who are on standby. And it was a lot of passengers. I said, well, you just called over the intercom for standby passengers and those waiting seat assignments. Are none of those window seats? And he said, mostly center. I said, okay, so mostly center and aisle. And I think he got really annoyed when I said that. And he goes, I gave you an aisle seat. You got the best seat in the house. It's just not making sense in my mind. There's mad people behind me. There's not one window seat. At that point, I was like, done. I was not rude, but I also don't let people walk all over me. And I was very firm. I said, well, that's subjective. I don't know what happened to this man, but he turned and looked at me, put his finger out like this, like he was scolding a child, and goes, don't you snap at me. And I looked at him and I was like, like if you guys have ever been in a car accident and when you have the moment of impact and everything just kind of slows down, that's kind of how it was in my mind. In my mind, I was like, did this fool really just point his fingers at me and yell at me in the middle of a crowded airport with a line of people behind me? Is this really happening right now? I knew immediately that he was trying to embarrass me and make it look like I was harassing him. So he looked at me and he said, don't you snap at me. I looked at him and I said, who are you talking to? He said, I'm talking to you the same way you talk to me. I said, I didn't snap at you. Then the woman who was about to help me, she stops looking at me and looks at the woman behind me and says, can I help you? As if I wasn't even standing there. When she did that, and then Bruce snapped at me, I literally looked around for people to be like, am I crazy? Did anyone else see this? And everybody in line was like, Nobody cared. Nobody saw anything. And I'm just going to say this. I was the only brown girl in that line, in that entire vicinity, in that moment. Okay? I was feeling some sort of way. When she did that, I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. You totally just changed the whole direction of this conversation. You just made it look like I was aggressive and that I did something to you when all I did was ask for a window seat and you're refusing to give me one or to even acknowledge if any are still available. So in my mind, I was like, okay, this is not going to go well for you. You got to just let this one go and figure out another way around this. So at that moment, I looked at Bruce and I looked at the woman and I said, wow, what's your name? Bruce? Okay. Thank you so much for your great customer service, Bruce. And I said it loud enough for everyone to hear, not that anybody cared. Nobody cared. And I just decided to walk away. I was like really shaking and I was really pissed off. And not only was I mad about that whole situation, how that went down, but I was also still exhausted. I was tired. And I just couldn't believe what just happened. Like, I was like, is this seriously happening right now? So instead of finding another seat, I decided to go to the very adjacent gate, and I went to the man who was there and I said, "Hi, I'd just like to speak with a manager. Can you please ring a manager?" So the manager came, happened to be this woman with locks. She was very nice. And when she came, I was like so emotional because I was very tired. When I'm tired, I get very emotional. So I was just trying to hold it all in and just be relaxed. When she came, I was like, okay, I want to tell you this story, but can we go to the side? Because I didn't want anyone to see me telling her this story. Everyone was already looking at me like I was crazy. And if I start crying, I don't need people looking at me while I cry. So we went to the side. It was actually right between both gates. So Bruce and that woman were there, and then there was other gate here, and we were kind of like there, but it just felt like it wasn't like in the middle of the airport. So I started telling her the story, and she was like, "Oh, are you serious?" And I was like, and I just, was getting worked up because I couldn't believe it. So while I'm telling her the story, because we're right next to the gate, Bruce goes on the intercom and he goes, "Passenger White to the podium." I looked at him and I looked at her and I said, "I'm not going to talk to that man." And I continued telling her my story. You see me talking to your manager and now you want to call me to the podium? Please, please, honey, too late. Did you think I wasn't gonna call your manager? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Because I was wearing sweatpants and a backpack, you thought I was a little girl. No, 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 no. I'm a 30-year-old woman. Do not mess with me. I'm not gonna let you embarrass me, and I'm not gonna come out of character, but you will get yours. So I called your manager. So I was talking to the manager. After he tried to call me to the podium, I said, "I'm not going to that man." I kept talking to her, and I'm like, tears, trying to hold it together so I don't embarrass myself anymore. Bruce walks over to us and hands her a ticket while I'm telling her my story about Bruce. Is this guy serious? Are you serious though? So she takes the ticket. I'm still talking. He's not existing. He walks away. And then when I'm done with my story, I go, "And he just gave you a ticket because he knows he was wrong." And she goes, "Yes, I completely agree with you. He was wrong. He was terrible." And we looked at the ticket, and the seat number was 6A. A is a window seat. "Oh, you found a window seat, did you?" All of a sudden, a window seat became available. How convenient while I was talking to your manager. He did that because he knew he was wrong. How dare you? Are you kidding me? You just embarrassed me in front of a gate full of people and made me look like I was harassing you. When I approached him 3 times. That's it, that entire time. 3 times. Very nicely, very respectfully. And I even told him, if I'm speaking really slow, I'm really sorry. It's just that I'm really tired. I'm just looking for a window seat. And he was just annoyed that I wasn't happy with what the Lord Bruce seat gave me. And so he was gonna go and embarrass me and make it look like I was aggressive and harassing him because it was easy for him to do with his finger in my face. He gave the ticket to the manager and I said, "Thank you." I took my ticket. She apologized. She was so nice. She apologized. She said she was going to speak with him and she was going to take care of it. And she told me to file a formal complaint. At this point, the entire gate was so full. I just slinked down on a podium because there were no seats available, sitting on the floor, which I never do in airports. I think is so gross. I was on the floor typing this. While I was typing it in my phone, I was reliving it again and crying and just so emotional. And then it was time for everyone to board. I just let everybody board. Usually I want to get in there and just go to sleep. I was too busy typing. I was one of the last people to board. And so I walk up to the gate where Bruce and that woman were standing. This heifer, oh my God. She had the nerve to try and be nice to me. Are you serious, lady? She takes my ticket and she's like, "Have a great flight." No, they were not even on my radar. I was like, "Have a great day," and walked into the gate. And that was it. I don't even know how they responded. They didn't exist. I couldn't believe what they put me through. That was the worst experience I've ever had, not only with American Airlines, but with any airline. What I don't understand is why you would see somebody come off a flight that landed at 5:30 in the morning, knowing where they came from, knowing that they've been flying all night, who looks desperate just to get some sleep. Somebody that didn't do anything to you. Why, when you have what they're looking for, would you deny them that simple thing? All you had to do was press a button, give me a new ticket, and that would have been done. Like, that's what I don't get. He was difficult for no reason and just mean. Just a mean, nasty person. And I couldn't help but take that personally because literally I didn't do anything to this man. And that was right after all that civil unrest was happening in North Carolina too. So honestly, I was feeling some sort of way about that. It did not help that I was the only brown girl in that airport besides the manager who came to me afterwards. Just felt very alone. Anyway, on the flight, I was able to get a little bit of sleep. When I got to the hotel in New York, I just passed out and was able to get a bit of sleep before the event. It turned out to be fine, but that was very scarring. So that is my story time. It's not a super positive one. It's not even really like a cautionary tale. You can't really learn anything from it. But I guess if you learn anything, it's to take JetBlue. Not sponsored by JetBlue, but I would love to be sponsored by JetBlue because I literally love JetBlue. I've never had an issue with JetBlue. They're always amazing. Good customer service. So anyway, I will let you guys go now. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't way too ranty and yeah. But yeah, that's my story. If you guys like the story time, give it a thumbs up. And if I have any more, I will think of some more to tell you. Hopefully I don't have any that are too bad, but I will see you guys in the next one.